Our Giant FM Real Radio. You're listening to A Trip with Penny Lane, and today on the show we have Mr. David the Quitter Ross. Welcome.
How's it going?
Well, it's going great. So you flew in from San Diego?
Correct.
Now, my husband's told me that is the most beautiful place in the world.
Yeah, there's signs everywhere that say it's America's finest city.
Are there? Seriously?
Yeah, I think that's the actual moniker, is America's finest city. And I've had the opportunity to travel the entire United States. I've been in all 50 of them and driven through many. And people ask, so what's your favorite? And it's San Diego. I usually end up back there.
What makes it really nice?
I think there's just tons of diversity, first and foremost. The people there's a wide mix of people. You can't beat the weather. If you're within a couple miles of the coast, you really don't fluctuate more than 72, 75 degrees. I mean, in the wintertime, our low is like 59, so I think the weather, and a person can be at the beach, in the mountains, in the desert, all within the same day.
Wow.
So, I mean, not just the people are diverse, but the climate as well. It's awesome.
You are originally from?
Actually, I was born in Orange County, California.
All right.
And then I know where you're going, though. When I was 13, we got uprooted from Southern California. I used to be able to ride my bike with my friends to the beach. And at 13, we moved to the big metropolis here in Indiana, actually, a small town called Bern, Indiana. So I think when I moved there, I went from Southern California and the beach to population of maybe 3,000. There was one flashing light in the middle of town.
Isn't it known for clocks or something?
Well, there's a big
right?
clock there. I
Okay.
think what they build, their main staple, I think, is furniture.
All right. Okay.
And it was really weird because when we moved there, the closest McDonald's, like just for a reference, was I think 12 miles away. And we used to be able to ride our bike across the street. The closest Burger King was 34 miles away. You had to drive all the way to Fort Wayne for that, So I went to high school and college in Bern, or I'm high school in Bern. I went to college, Purdue, IPFW, Purdue. And when I was, I think in 99, I headed back west and lived in San Diego. And then that's kind of what brought me to you in a roundabout way, is that after living there for a while and seemingly doing great, I wasn't doing great. And my love of bourbon kind of caught up with me. And eventually I drank myself out of my apartment. I drank myself out of my car and found myself without home for about 5 years. I bounced around the country to anywhere that would have me. And through that, I was able to start this I Finally Quit movement and write this book. And I've been able to, through my experiences, kind of encourage people to not necessarily make life changes, but or quit bad habits, but maybe start some healthier ones.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
How, from someone that doesn't drink, and it is a huge problem.
Yes.
But how do you get to that point where you start off with your first drink and then boom? How does that evolve?
It just became part of my life. I think when I was in high school is when I really started drinking, and it really did take a hold of me. And I think part of that was really social pressure, my peers drank, so we would drink beers after school, and then it turned into a daily thing. And I was able to, I wasn't a stumbling drunk. I just have several drinks. And then by the time I was in college, though, I would go to class with like a to-go cup from a fast food restaurant, but I'd have that half full of bourbon, and I would just carry that around. And so it just really got a hold of me early and became a lifestyle.
Did you know that wasn't, the most healthiest thing to be doing?
As a kid,
right?
Yeah, but in your early 20s, you feel invincible. At the time I was studying pre-med, and I just felt like I was smarter than everybody else in the room anyway, and that the alcohol probably wasn't that big of a factor. I in hindsight, I can see that I was pretty delusional, thinking that I could control that. And I was able to for a long, long time. And then I wasn't. But
family and friends, did they say things to you?
So me drinking was not only a normal thing for myself, but I think it became normal for my friends and family. I was the guy that, we'd show up to a bonfire party in Indiana, like there was already a keg or two there.
Right.
All you had to do was show up and drink beer. But I would show up carrying a fifth of bourbon and, liken myself to Jim Morrison. I just kind of walk around, and this was who I was. I was the bourbon guy, and I think people kind of expected that. I was not the best brother to my sister and brother. If I made it to my brother's Little League games, I was probably sporting some sort of a to-go cup of some sort, even at an early age. So I think friends and family, they didn't intervene. And we were talking about that just before we got on the air, that a person really comes to their own decision as to whatever the bad habit might be, procrastination or, it doesn't have to be smoking. I was a heavy smoker. I smoked for 20 plus years, and I quit doing that. And that was really the catalyst to get me to stop drinking. I used some really weird reverse logic for that, but it turned to, into a situation that worked. But anyway.
If you've got someone that you're worried about,
yeah.
What can you do? Because you can't force somebody, right?
Yeah, what I think is, first and foremost, is a conversation with the person that comes from the heart and from love, and that, it's always a touchy subject. You don't want to come off as holier than thou, or you don't want to come off as all-knowing. But if you can reach out to that loved one and just say, I love you very, very much, and I want you to be around for a long, long, long time. And, it just seems to me that when other people engage in that behavior, whether it's drinking or hard drugs or whatever, say, I've noticed other people, they don't live to long, age when they do that. And I'd like to keep you around. So maybe we can, address this in a non-threatening way, So I would probably try and approach a person that way. Now, I'm lucky in the sense that now people do come to us, to I Finally Quit, or to me and ask, how would you do it? And if somebody's coming and asking me as the quitting expert, that conversation is a little bit different, and I tend to lead them to, first and foremost, talk to their family physician, make sure that they're healthy enough to quit, which sounds weird, but you can't just turn off the switch. And my body did turn off a switch, and I ended up in an ICU for 8 days, 3 days kept in a medically induced coma, and so on. So, a person's they mentally have to be open to the conversation.
All right. We're going to take a short break, come back. We're talking with David the Quitter Ross. You can check him out online. He does have a website, ifinallyquit.com. And if you have any questions, you can call the station, 317-398-2200. Giant FM Real Radio. We're turning to an interview with David the Quitter Ross on a trip with Penny Lane. And I've started reading I Finally Quit. It's very enjoyable.
Thank you.
And you've went through a lot of near-death situations.
A lot. Yeah.
From car accidents and,
yeah.
Now when I see a field burning,
yeah.
Just to tell our listeners a little bit about that story, because I was shocked about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I definitely write about is the different situation I was put in due to my drinking. And although completely sober on this car drive, I was driving from Indiana to Ohio, and farmland, and there was some smoke rolling across the highway. I want to say it was Highway 33, I believe, or 24. Anyway, it's 4-lane, 2-lane each way, and I could see smoke going across, and I slowed down. I think speed limit was probably 60, 65, and I saw cars coming out of the smoke, and I kind of did some calculation, and it looked like, okay, well, you just drive into the smoke and pop right through it, because these cars were coming out, so it looked pretty easy. And I got into the smoke and realized, wow, I can't even see the dashboard or the hood of my car. And after I was in there for about 4 or 5 seconds, which felt like forever, I was like, wow, I'm still in here. I can't see. So I put my foot over to the brake and I started to slow down. But at that point, I immediately smashed into essentially parked a stopped minivan because the driver of that car, she realized she couldn't see, so she stopped. And I hit her. I was still going 50 miles an hour. And instantly I knew that my right leg had broke. And I looked down, and sure enough, there were 2 90-degree turns in my right leg. And I thought, well, that's not good. And your instinct at that point is to get out of the car. And that impact was so great that it actually like sealed my doors. You know, they were jammed shut. And I instantly thought, oh, well, whoever's coming behind me can't see me, so this is it. I'm going to be hit and I'm going to die. So I decided I would have my last cigarette. And at this point, I'm 24. And I'm already thinking, well, I'm going to have my last cigarette. And they're on the floor of the passenger side of the car. I can't reach them because my leg's broken, so I can't, jostle my weight. So I realized, wow, this is it. So I just sat and I looked in my rearview mirror and waited. And I saw the front of a semi come through that smoke. And the semi hit the right rear side of my car, jammed me back into the minivan, and it actually brought the rear of my car beyond the rear axle. So it completely smashed the trunk and back seat flush with my seat. And then you would think that would be enough. And it was. The lady in front of me, she thought that was enough, so she drove off out. But I was stuck. And at that point, I thought, this is it. And then, boom, I got hit by a Monte Carlo that was still going 60 miles an hour. And that spun me around down the embankment, landed on the field that was on fire.
Right.
And I look out the window of my car, and the flames are almost eye level with me. And at this point, I have a broken clavicle, a couple of broken ribs, my legs broke. And I thought, oh, this is how it goes. Like, I'm going to explode, because my gas tank has to be leaking. And then a guy showed up. And I yelled out to him, like, hey, I'm alive over here. And he walked up to the window, and I said, hey, I need some help. And he said, just be still, relax, help is coming. And I was like, no, but you're here, I need to get out. And he said, don't worry, help is coming. And he walked away. And a couple of seconds later, 3 guys with fire extinguishers came and blew the flames away from the car. And they had to cut me out with the jaws of life. They sent the helicopter out to get me, but all the smoke, the helicopter couldn't land. So just to get me to the hospital in Fort Wayne took a couple of hours. I was there, and that hospital trip was 7 days. And on day 4, the volunteer fire department from the middle of nowhere in Indiana, the 3 guys came and checked on me, and I asked them where the 4th guy was. And they said, there's just the 3 of us. And I said, no, there's a 4th guy that showed up before you. And they were like, no, you're nuts. And so I firmly believe that God sent an angel or somebody to get me to just chill out and relax and wait. And so that was one time where I really feel like I cheated death.
An amazing story.
Yeah.
That just gives you chills.
Yeah, it was a good one. I had to walk with a cane for a little while. It was pretty crazy.
Did you stop drinking then?
No. And the whole reason I put myself in that situation, by the way, I was running late because the night before, I got drunk and
Had a hangover.
it was so drinking got me into that, but I was sober at the time.
But
I kept smoking.
Yeah, what was the time you said, this is it, I'm stopping?
The drinking, well, okay, so the drinking in 2005, I believe, I seemingly had it all. I was living in downtown San Diego. I was engaged. I thought I was handling my drinking, and then I got disengaged. I chased off my fiance because I was drinking too much. And I wasn't ready to quit drinking. I just, that was it was my identity. And through the course of being homeless, which is what the drinking caused, I ended up at my sister's place in Florida. And at the time, my niece was 11. And an 11-year-old doesn't necessarily understand the concept of homelessness. So she just thought her fun uncle was there for a visit. And she had grown up in secondhand smoke her entire life. And not chastising my sister or anything, many of us do grow up like that. But I could hear my 11-year-old, when she was laughing at her fun uncle, I could hear in her cough that there was something there. And I thought, I'm already kind of a bad person and I'm homeless and I don't want to contribute to that. So I actually made a pact with my niece that I would quit smoking. And I'd been a 21-year two-pack-a-day smoker. I would make a pact with her I would quit if she would never start. And on day one, now, and this ironically is where the 8 steps to quitting, which we have at ifinallyquit.com.
Right.
That's where the whole 8 steps came from, is I kind of developed that and it worked for me and I quit smoking. And I sat back and I went, I finally quit. Like it was such a relief, you know? And then I thought, man, if you could quit drinking the way that you just quit smoking, like, because I knew it. I found a switch in my head and I
Right.
turned it off. I thought, man, if you could quit drinking the same way, then you could inspire people. And so I made a commitment to drink even more.
Are the 8 steps in the book?
The 8 steps are in the book. They're also available for free on our website at ifinallyquit.com/get started. There's a link there. But that's where, so I decided, I doubled down. I decided I would drink even more, and then I would stop when I turned 40. I would use those 8 steps, and that would inspire people. And I didn't make it till I was 40. My pancreas shut down, liver and kidneys, and I ended up in the hospital at that time.
All right. Well, we are going to break for the news. And then tell us, you got a special offer?
Yeah, for your listeners, if they use the promo code REALRADIO, so if they go to ifinallyquit.com, we have a store there, and the book is available, and they'll get 25% off, and we'll throw in free shipping too, I think. So 25% off, and they can get the book, I Finally Quit, and so can you, and the subtitle is How to Gain Everything by Quitting.
And you also have a support group that you can join too on the
Yeah,
website.
we have an online support group as well.
All right. Well, David the Quitter Ross, thank you so much for coming in today. Anything else you'd like to tell listeners?
Man, I'm just really excited that you had me in here. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
And enjoy the Y Store.
I'm going to see the Y Store tonight in Indiana.
I'm sorry, we're hitting the top of the hour,
I saw it.
I was like, oh.
Thanks for being on here. See ya.